Gotta do a sound check. Sound check, team. Do the sound check. Yes, sir. We're on it. Hang on, I get the sound check. I gotta make sure you can hear the music and hear me both at the same time, so it's too loud. Talk assistant. I don't know what that is. No, I don't need nothing else installed on my slavery device. Oh, my little sister just texted me. Are you going to Mama's for Thanksgiving? And if Mama's having a real Thanksgiving, I'm not going to fake Thanksgiving. Nah. Thanksgiving. Fake Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving. I have to text her back on. Do a sound check. How's the sound sound? The music is low. You can hear it. I'm trying to. I got the sound team is doing a sound check. Hold on. That's not too bad, is it? On, let's let the rendition start. It's weird. The mic does do this skipping thing when I first start videos. That's weird. All right, let's turn the music sound down. Oh, fun. Said the sound is too, the music's too loud. Let's turn the music down. How does that sound? The mic doesn't sound like it's skipping anymore. Bastard. You say you can't hear the comments. What is wrong with this man? All right, hang on. I just want to make sure I can do that. I can play videos. Hopefully, we're going to bring some people on to talk a little bit. Good morning, everybody. Tao to Cheng, part 3. Tao to Cheng. Tao to Cheng. I need to bring people on because I'm going to get in trouble this morning. I need a babysitter. I need a babysitter. I finally understand. All right, shut up. Gerard was in my ears. I was playing sound team. I've done playing sound. It sound okay. I think it sound okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble this morning. I do this on my own. I need some help. I finally understand exosome theory versus virus theory, brother. Who cured me of that this morning? Is he here yet? No, he's not here yet. One of the brothers cured me of that this morning, so I spent my morning watching a talk by Dr. Chowin, right? Who I think I have a new doctor. I think Dr. Chowin is going to be a new doctor of mine. Finally understand exosome theory. Y'all should be upset. I can't tell you about it, though. You got to research it yourself. Actually, I posted something on my website. But yeah, you can't talk about it on these little social media toys. You're not allowed to have real conversations here. Good morning, everybody. All right, what I need to do, let me share this. Let me get this going. Share it. Don't share it too much, but share it. Don't share it too much. You share it too much, then I'm a target. Good morning, everybody. Everybody come in and share it in public. Alrighty then, I'm gonna share it to my one page. Good morning, everybody. How you? Brother Jesse, that's who cured me. Brother Jesse. Jesse sent me that link, and apparently that doctor wrote a book. Two doctors wrote it. Well, he's a doctor. I'm not sure if she is. Great interview, which I don't think you can post on the internet, not on social media. What's the name of the book? Somebody posted the name of the book this morning. I added to the book list. I'm gonna have to read this one next time I'm in the car, because I mostly do audiobooks. You can listen to audiobooks while you drive. Very important to do. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing this morning? Ooh, what's the name? Sister Jessica had a good post this morning as well. Talking about the ignorance of Americans who just simply don't want to know what's true. No, run, hide. I can't know it's true. Don't tell me about exosomes. It means I got to eat organic. and that's really what it is. That's really what it is. They don't want you to know about exosome theory, because the problem is, if you actually understand exosome theory, you realize there's no profitable way out of our problems. There's no profitable, not profitable to the 1%, profitable to grandmama, your uncle, your kids, the future, everything, but it's not profitable to Rockefeller medicine. So they don't want you to know about exosome theory, which I think came after germ and virus theory. And the answers are: don't be stupid. Don't poison the population. Don't subsidize chemicals and non-organic foods and cosmetics that cause breast cancer and all this stuff. Tell everybody use Perel. Tell everybody about viruses. Wage war on them. Right? And this actually is really simple. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's just economics. All right, let me get the link. I think Sister Holly's coming in. Hopefully somebody else comes too. Somebody else faking the funk, pretending that they want to come in. They always pretend every morning. Good morning, everybody. Oh, I made a meme this morning too because of it. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Stop running from the viruses. Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. All right. Got the panelists in the background reminding me to send the link. Here we go. Here comes the link. Grand Rising. Good morning. Who's that? Anna. Good morning, Anna. Ain't seen you in a little bit. Good morning, Bonkers. How you doing this morning? All right, sound is good. Sounds like everybody agreed. Good morning, Kati, Beaufont, Matthew, Diane. Who else we got in the house? Elizabeth. All right, the link is out, so we should have some guests coming in. Riley is in the house, still in Facebook jail. Michael is in the house. Good morning, brother Michael. Elaine, Buddha in the house as well. Christine, Sandy, Elizabeth, and Sharon. All right. Ooh, goodness gracious. Did I get in trouble? I kind of do want to get in trouble, though. I haven't been to Facebook jail in a little bit. I want to talk about exosome theory so much. Oh, so much. I want people to be healthy. And it's the craziest thing that we can't talk about the things that makes people healthy. To me, it's a criminal act to hide information from people that keeps them sick, because you have a disease management system and you're subsidizing pesticides. And I really don't blame the politicians. I blame us. The politicians, it's the job. The job isn't to help you. The job is to control you. There you go, Sister Jessie. Thank you, Brother Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, man, you did it, brother. You did it this morning. I listened to that whole interview twice. It connected the dots, because virus theory has too many holes in it. And that doctor, he just filled them gaps in. I want to play a clip from it. I'm kind of scared to, Jesse. I think if I do, it's going to help people. That's not allowed. No good deed goes unpunished. The criminals run to Washington, D.C. What did Mark Twain call it? The Washington, D.C. No, what do you call Washington, D.C.? The District of Colonizers? Nope, that's what I call it. He called the District of Criminals. Yes, that's what he was. He called it the District of Criminals. That's what he called it. And that's what it still is. And we collude and vote for it. The District of Crusaders. The District of Cuckoo Virusers. Yep, that one fits as well. That's why I call everything a cuckoo virus. People get upset with me. I was like, yeah, cuckoo virus is a hoax, people. It's a hoax. Not in the way that Donald Trump meant it, but it's a hoax in the fact that Rockefeller medicine is a hoax. So if Rockefeller medicine is a hoax, everything that comes out of it is a hoax. All right, let's do this. Put the conversation music on while we wait to see if people get some frightenness out of themselves and want to come on and finish this conversation. We'll jump right into the topic. I don't know. So what should we do this morning? I really do want to do exosome theory. But, the problem is that when you tell people why they get sick is their body is cleansing and you get upgrades to your body, and not called, well, some people call them viruses, other people call them exosomes. Viruses, they say, come from the environment, coming to get you. We need to wage war on nature. Exosomes just says, hey, my body ran into something and it's trying to let Sister Anna's body know. Girl, you're going to get sick if you don't create some antigens for this nonsense. And it's just updates, communication. Our bodies are communicating. Our bodies create these things based on stimulus in the environment. working together. You want to run from viruses. That's not the goal. You shouldn't be running from exosomes. So virus is like waging war on something and it's profitable. Exosome theory just says you shouldn't be poisoning your population. I'm gonna show you this meme I made this morning. Oh, here we go. It's called the contagion myth. I wish I could show you my desktop. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. I know there used to be a way I could show you my desktop. And we'll get into the Tao Te Ching. Like, I'm enjoying this. Hopefully y'all are. It's just the Tao Te Ching, it reminds me of scripture. Like how scriptures are timeless, right? If it's something true, it'll always be true. If something's true today, it'll always be true. It doesn't matter where it's at. If it's in the Bible, it's in the Mahabharata, if it's in the, I know I didn't say that right. I like to say that, but it's in the Enuma Elish, it's in the Gita, no matter where it may be. Truth is truth. And when you read what's true in a different time, in a different place in your life, when you have different understandings, then you get different things out of it. You know, and so truth is ever evolving with the level of information in your brain or what's going on in your life at that moment. So we could literally do the Tao Te Ching every single day for the rest of our life, and we would get something different every time you read it. Same thing with scripture. All right, let me see if I can do this. I think I can share my desktop. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's Gerard. Brother John is in the house. Jessica's in the house. Jessica's a real person, yeah. Jessica, if y'all don't know, Jessica Anuez. Say hi to the family, Jessica. Y'all should send her a friend invite. She's actually one of the few local people I have who ain't out there crying, fighting. Oh my goodness, fighting. I won't even tell you the story because it was awesome to meet her the other day. Real people, find real people in your local area who are ready to stand up. Because like I was telling the brother this morning, oh, this gonna come to an end. It's bubbling to an end. It's bubbling to the last thing you want to do is give the ignorant population one common greater enemy to fight. And they're trying to do that the best that they can. All right. Let me see. Screen. I think I can share my desktop. Let me see. Yes, I can. Here it goes. It's not gonna look the way I want it to. I like this format a little better. Usually I use OBS software. I'm getting down with this because I prefer panels and discussions. I'd love to move to more an interview style, you know, where we talk to different people on a regular basis, fill in the gap in a small way for brother Del Big Tree thrown off of Facebook for saving lives. All right. Scour the place for old books. Yes, truth is in books, be true. That's why they do book burning, because the problem with the book is it's not a digit. You can't actually hide a digit. Here's the name of the book right here, The Contagion Myth. Why viruses, including cuckoo virus, which you cannot say, are not the cause of disease. But you know, a lot of doctors have told you this, right? The cause of disease is malnutrition. If you're not eating healthy, if you got a government subsidizing the poisoning in your area, if that is the model, they don't have a choice. They literally won't get a job and won't be reelected unless they take money from organizations that poison you with their poisons. You're going to have a lot of diseases. All chronic. Oh, I had a post this morning about that, didn't I? Yeah, resonating, blah, 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 transmitting exosomes, protection frequencies. Yeah, I can't even get into it. Here's the meme. This is a meme I wanted to show you. Can I make that big? Putting other people's faces on blast. There we go. Y'all understand this meme right here? People sharing it like they understand it. I'm just curious. Do you understand it? Or do you like trust me? Like, yeah, this guy, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he posts things that is meaningful. The exosomes are here to help. My exosomes are to protect Yoshabel. My exosomes are to protect Patricia Hauser. My exosomes are to protect Brother Jonathan, even though he's in France. But we have not figured out whether or not the frequencies of resonance can leave my body and make it to France. Our bodies work together in an ecosystem. And that's why we're going to have to bring Sister Holly on, because I'm going to get in trouble. I want to talk about it, Jesse. I want to talk about it. But I know that you're not allowed. You're not allowed to help people save their lives. The only thing I can tell you is eat organic, eat healthy, live a stress-free life as much as possible. Don't stress other people out. and your body and the people around you's body create less exosomes that get people sick and will die because their bodies are being poisoned and they don't want to upgrade. I'm gonna let the doctor talk then. I'm gonna let the doctor talk for a minute. Holly right here. Here comes Holly. Hey, Holly. You're ironing. Okay, well, teenagers can do that.
Yeah,
Teenagers can help you get on.
I had to wake him
How
up.
are you doing this morning?
Not too bad. I got up early. I'm facing the world.
All right, hold on. I wanted to go with music. I like the music, but I can't do the music because it's in my ear. There we go. It's got to go. All right, let's change the breakdown. Let me get your name up here so people know who you are. They can follow your content. How do you pronounce your last name, though, Holly?
Arafat.
You know you missed some letters in that last name.
Actually, no. My Fayon is my Facebook name, and Arafat is my ex-married name.
Okay. Everybody has club names now because this is like a club where we get out here. You can't put your real name on here.
Well, and then
people
you have to
realize
do
that yet.
Facebook profiles so you can get your stuff out there without being. I'm being put on restriction every day for 3 days, and I get off, and then I post the same picture of Nazis, and they put me on another 3 days restriction, and then I post the same picture of Nazis, and they put me on another 3 days. I'm just doing a social experiment. I'm gonna see how doggone many times they put me on a 3-day restriction for the same Nazi photo.
I learned that lesson the hard way. I was what did I do? I think I posted something because I forgot the name of the book. I think the book was called The Fourth Reich, and it kind of explained how Washington, D.C., the district of colonized and criminal crusaders, mimics the Fourth Reich. It's like the next step up. And anytime I post anything about the H word, I call them Bittner or Nazi. You have Nas. Oh, you can't say it because the learning software will pick it up. N-A, not, N-O-T-S-E-E. You have to do that. Otherwise, the learning software picks it up and it lowers you in the algorithm. But it's interesting to me. And I'm trying to figure out why. Like, why don't they want us to talk about that particularly? And the only thing that makes sense to me is that, well, they're trying to scrub history to a degree because they're trying to repeat some things. If people forget history, they'll repeat it. And so, like feeding with today's topic, I personally think that all of this is about to come to a beautiful end. I think that they're going to do something really stupid because they really overstepped their power. They've swung that pendulum way too hard. The right and the left, a large group of them are pissed off and they have zero interest in this cure that they want to give. A lot of medical professionals are. And so I think when you give everybody one main enemy fight, how they did with Bittner, that people will stand up, how people did in 9/11, right? People in Belfast and people in America. So I think that they're going to swing that pendulum too hard on one side and it's going to swing back. But I think that's why you can't talk about certain things online because they don't want people thinking about how that was bad back then. They want to make it seem like it's a good idea now to make an enemy out of certain groups of people.
Absolutely.
So what I would like to do is well, I guess let's do a few comments and we'll get into the Tao Te Ching. I think that the Tao Te Ching is an amazing, timeless document, right? It's kind of like certain scriptures and certain books that just say things that are timelessly true, that if we can keep going back to what the wise people who came before us said, we can keep reapplying them to today, the modern time, to solve problems, not in a tribal way, not in a solving problems from a Black perspective or solving problems from a left perspective or an American perspective, but a timeless, this is what's true because this came from philosophers and scholars perspective. So you down for that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Is there a little bit of a delay? Okay. I think we must have.
people don't get sick.
Eating meat around me. Yeah, I have to agree with Jesse. This whole comment I don't have up there, but what changed my life is when I realized what I was eating made me sick. What I was eating for breakfast, lunch, dinner, what I was drinking, the places I was going, the stressful job I had in corporate America. I had no idea that all of that fed into this stressed body, that when I come into contact with things that are normal, like exosomes from Holly, that are trying to teach me about one other problem in the environment, I can get sick and die if I eat too many donuts and bagels and too much meat and drink too much sugary drinks and too much of the Frankenwheat and all of that. And so I think I have to agree with Jesse. There's when I realized that the human body wasn't designed to be sick, that being sick is your body sending you warning messages that you're doing something wrong in life. You need to make some changes. And that's when I realized that the medical industry, something's wrong. This is not a health industry.
It promotes, in a nutshell, it promotes acidity. And we're trying to simplify all of this stuff. That's what it boils down to in my mind. Acidity, alkalinity, and everything they do promotes acidity. And acidity to an imbalanced environment blows skin suit, and things that can develop are things like fungus and mold. And I honestly believe, I'm pretty far off with this, that cancer is fungus, and it can be treated as fungus.
Yeah, I think I first ran into that theory from the doctors who were talking about, what was it, SV40, where there are certain things that are being introduced to the human body directly injected. Hang on, I'm gonna have to figure out. There's an echo that created cancer, and I guess where I live today is, I won't convince anybody I know what any of this stuff is, but I am pretty convinced that the vast majority comes from the environment. The vast majority comes from greed. The vast majority comes from consumerism. The vast majority comes from forced labor, stress, corporate America, enslavement, slavery systems stressing people out. It comes from technology that you're not really allowed to talk about, that they're putting up on towers. It comes from radiation from these nuclear power plants. That our diseases of the modern time are all, what do they call them? Diseases of culture. And so we're suffering because we support the people who work for the corporations that are actually poisoning everybody. And kind of what I'm hoping right now, where my head is leaning, is that this might actually be the end of disease management. This might actually be the end of Rockefeller medicine. This might actually, if people do research and educate themselves, it'll be the end of pesticides and subsidizing these things, poisoning women through makeup and the makeup industries. And so if people actually, I think, step up and do the research and realize that there are a few corporations pretty much just declared war on the human population, or they declared war a long time ago, but now it's obvious that we're going to shift and change everything very shortly. Oh, they say
Well,
echo. Is the echo gone?
yeah, they've acknowledged some of it too. The whole cruelty-free and all this movement is meant to impress us, but it's not impressive. It just means you were busted. And, so your cruelty-free products aren't really that impressive. That just tells me you've been inciting cruelty on animals up to this point, and you got caught. And so we don't even know half of what they've been doing, because they're only exposing what they've been caught doing.
Ooh. I want to hit what Brother Michael said, agreeing with you, and I want you to tell us more about conditions in the body that can create cancer. But isn't that the problem? And I think I posted that this morning too. The problem is we only act on what we know. We never take it as far as it needs to go to be preventative. And what I mean by that is I don't think ending the lockdowns is a fix. Like that's, I don't think educating people what face diapers don't do. Like from that new study from Denmark, where they studied 6,000 people and whether or not face diapers work. I'm not even sure if we can still talk about that, but people have to educate themselves. I don't think ending that NOTSEE ism, I don't think that's the fix. I think that is resorting back to a status that actually caused all of this, but keeping the systems in place that will make it happen again. You can't just say, all right, you guys are going to stop, acting like your NOTSEEs. We actually have to revert back and say, well, no, you have powers you should not have. You have profits you should not have. You have things that we need to take from you. And I think that's part of swinging that pendulum all the way back to where we're not just dealing with what we know, but we're taking their power at a root level, because all they're going to do is just pull it again. Right. And so I think that's linking up what you're saying. Tell us about what you and Brother Michael are talking about. I don't think a lot of people understand what you're saying.
About the alkalinity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Michael may know more about it. I just spout the words, but acidity versus alkalinity is the pH level of the body, and it's I have a swimming pool and I have to maintain that pH level, or else it goes crazy. Algae grows, fungus. I can get white mold in my swimming pool pump, and all kinds of things if I don't keep that balance just perfect. And I think the human body is similar. And if you look at pretty much everything they do to us, antibiotics acidify the body, vaccines right out the gate acidify the body, and that in combination with what I consider a trauma protocol from conception is what we're set up for. And I give the example of my own children. I was a little bit overprotective, but basically no one laid a hand on my kids for their entire babyhood and toddlerhood. I would take them to the pediatrician because I know the system I'm in, and I wanted to have some documentation that I took my kids to the doctor. I had them weigh them, make sure that they were as much as a sack of potatoes. Then nobody laid a hand on them. I had to stand guard between my sons and the pediatrician because he was anxious to get over there and retract their foreskin and cause issues. So I had to literally stand guard between my son and the pediatrician and like do one of these. Like, nope, nope, nope. You can lick, but you can't touch. And no one ever touched them. They never had intervention in their childhoods, and they're perfectly healthy. So my point is, we have to get to a place where we understand that we can birth and raise our babies with what we have and make healthy, confident, strong bodies and children without this intervention. And that's what's so hard to let go of, because we've come to depend on it. These young mothers believe they can't raise a baby without the doctor telling them what to do.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that's kind of how I got started with all of this, was realizing that parents don't have the rights that they think they have. That we live in places where states actually feel and have the laws and the consent that they own their children. They own the children, but they own the adults as well, which is a whole nother conversation in terms of where we got to go with reclaiming our private status and not consenting to the system. But I think children are the way. I do think children are the way. Like, when I say it, people say, oh, well, you're gaslighting. Okay, well, fine, let's gaslight then. But it's the natural gaslighting, right? The fact that we do things to protect children, and we should do those things. Like everything that I think we need to deal with right now might be dark, but that's our job. Our job is to prepare the next generation. And so if you bring kids into this world, it is your obligation to take care of them. It is not the state's obligation. It's not corporations, any of their theories and their pseudo fake sciences where they censor doctors who are trying to tell you the truth. And I think the funny thing is most doctors know that. I think that we are actually going through a revolt because they're standing up every day. There's a new doctor explaining to us that we're being lied to. And so, I find myself more and more, I'm not fighting with doctors, but I'm pushing them and I'm promoting them because they're saying things perhaps that they've been seeing for 20, 30, 40 years, and they want to have the ability to take care of the patients the way they choose to without losing their licenses because it doesn't agree with what disease management and the pharmaceutical industry want them to do. Because that's really where we are. Everything is profitable. Everything is waging war on something we don't understand, like viruses. Someone asked what is I might push the envelope with this a little bit because I do want to play a clip from what Brother Jesse sent me this morning, an interview from Dr. Cowan. And but to set everybody up in terms of, how does this relate to the Tao Te Ching, right? So this is all about balance. It's about living in balance with the ecosystem. And we've been doing this. We're only, I think, 15%, through the book. But what we're trying to do is relate back to modern times and how do we use ancient wisdom and gray modern wisdom that's not talked about as much, apply it to today to actually solve problems in an untribalistic way, but more a philosophical way. So I think the stance that I'm in right now, Holly, is I just believe we need to free the doctors. I believe that doctors aren't slaves. I believe that nurses and medical professionals should be allowed to speak up. I believe that they shouldn't lose their jobs and licenses for being professionals. I ran into 2 lab techs yesterday, and they worked for a pharmaceutical company. And we were just talking about the whole 90% effective conversation. And, and I kind of threw out to them what I knew from when I worked in big pharma, things I heard. It's like, are they still like modifying data to show higher percentages to get people to go along with something? And they said, oh yeah, they were, I don't know what company they worked for, but they were upset. They said they were disgruntled because, and they were young people. They're very young people who believed in the system, got these jobs as lab techs. And they just simply were saying, like, well, what we do is we have to sell a product. And we're still, changing the inputs to the test. Do we get the statistics the way they need to look for the investors to sell what they're doing? And they were, kind of like, we need to leave the system. We need to get out of here. They were disgruntled. And my point to them was that, you can't, well, not that you can't leave. I said, I left, right? Because I can only do 20 years of it. Then I had to go do something else. But the most powerful whistleblowers are the ones who don't say anything, right? The ones who say something, they're done. Like, as an example, the Edward Snowdens or the Julian Assange, they're done. The minute you speak up, the system's coming for you. That's it. This system buries the people who have morals. It buries the people with ethics. It kills the good guy. We're not the good guy. So if you are in a position where things are happening that probably shouldn't, and you can kind of just grit your teeth for a little bit and deal with the position you're in, you are in a very powerful position because a time might come in the very near future where we need to hear from you and the public needs to hear from you. And so, the most powerful whistleblowers to me are those who act like cells. They work from within the system, and in the right moment, they'll speak up like doctors are right now. So,
well, it's their field of science, and I encourage and invite them to reclaim it. It is we're really not sure why it was developed, and the course that it's taken. It seems to have gone awry. But at the end of the day, it is their field of science, and I started medical school in the 80s and made about 2 years. The only classes I passed were psychology and yoga and chemistry. And I had enough experience at that time at a state hospital or, university hospital. I just had a feeling that I would not fit into that environment. And back then, since then, hundreds of doctors have been killed for trying to enter the naturopathic fields and to combine allopathic with homeopathic. and they've really suffered. I can imagine that had I finished medical school, I may have survived and I may have made it to this point where doctors are coming out. I mean, one of my best friends is a medical doctor. She went on to the naturopathic school. She's also getting her PhD in neuroregenerative repair. So there are doctors that are coming into this and embracing the fact that we can heal ourselves. The introduction of the med bed and photon light therapy and activation of our actual stem cells, and realizing that they drain our babies' umbilical cords so they don't have their stem cells, so they can inflict their industry on us from the get-go. When you let that cord blood drain for 45 minutes, that kid has a warrior immune system in place, in addition to breast milk and not attacking his natural, blooming immune system with heavy metals. You create a machine.
Mm.
And I've seen it with my own kids. They've never been sick. And I've also seen with my kids, sometimes I joke that I wish I had vaccinated them and taken some of the edge off, because what I'm
Mm.
dealing with is completely undamaged frontal lobes, and they walk all over me. I'm vaccine damaged. I don't
Mm.
respond to my environment normally, I don't think. Since I was vaccinated, I mean, it's been a hard journey coming to this, but my opinion is we're all severely frontal lobe damaged, and that's the first thing we need to deal with. We have to accept that.
Well, that's the model. That's the model. What I appreciate is professionals who have told us the truth from the very beginning, right? And so, but as well as the ones that don't. So the whole frontal lobe thing, right? Like for the frontal lobe is where your heavy decisions are being made for people who are unaware. And you don't have a frontal lobe till you're 26. People know me for saying it because I feel it's criminal to have laws to treat children like they're adults. If you're under the age of 26, you don't even have a frontal lobe yet. It's not even fully developed yet. You're being held accountable to laws, and you can't even decide as a human yet, right? To me, that's a form of genetic racism to put a child in prison if you're under the age of 26.
Well, damage his
But
brain and then put him in prison.
Right. And that's how this feeds in, right? So the model is mental illness. The model is stressing people out, leaving them in abusive environments, abusing them with government, corporations, technology, poisons, chemicals, things that affect the development of the frontal lobe. So you're literally making people who can't exist and live and thrive in an environment, and then you're blaming them for what they do. It's no different than allopathic medicine and literally creating the problems and then getting paid to solve the problems, right? And so, and I want to clarify just to make sure I'm not against allopathic medicine in any way, shape, or form. I always try to clarify very carefully. Um, Everything has a place, but I think it is my place to cheer for professionals to be empowered to utilize whatever they feel they need to save somebody's life. So a doctor should be allowed to choose between allopathic medicine, holistic medicine, what is it, the acupuncture, whatever they want to do, Reiki. That's not my profession. That's their profession. To me, my only place in all of this is I'm an engineer, right? Like I look at things from a systematic approach. And so when I see system does not work, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to study being a doctor. I have no interest in surgery or any of that nonsense. The very sight of blood, Holly, makes me want to like throw up and pass out. So I have no interest in that. The whole be a man thing. Yeah, I'll fight a bear, but damn it. I get a cut and I'm looking at, my kneecap and I see the white of the meat showing and some blood dripping up. No, that's for doctors to do. But we as members of this society should make sure that we cheer for little kids who want to grow up and become healers and be nurses and practitioners, that they can be professionals to do their profession. This applies everywhere. Like people think, we're not talking about medicine. We're talking about all industries. If you are a professional, you should be allowed to do your profession. That could be teaching. That could be, being a biotech in a laboratory. That could be an accountant. Like whatever it is that you do, you should be allowed to be a professional in that. That includes police. That includes we got into the whole CIA discussion yesterday, where it's like, if it is your job to protect people, then you need to go do that. But the system, just the same way as the AMA does, right? It brings in protections to make sure what you do increases the power of the state or increases the profit of a corporation, because that's what an oligarchy requires. So it's just not freeing the doctors, but it's freeing them all. And if you want to go to a doctor that leans more on the holistic side, you should be free to do that. If you want to go to a doctor that leans more on the allopathic medicine side, you should be free to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on Dr. Cowan real quick and let him, he's got, it's an hour talk, but I think this was the most powerful 15 minutes that I think most people need to hear. You want to take a peek into this, and then we can maybe take another chunk out of the towel to Cheng?
Sure.
Oh, but I'm gonna hit Christ's comment real quick as I cue this up. So for me, my understanding, based on everything I see, is nature is free, right? And being healthy is free. We have systems that have to break nature to make it profitable, right? And so this is what most industries do. And the people in the industries aren't the problem, it's the model. And so going along with what Christ is saying there is, everything is for the consumption of the increase of power and increase of profit, but they have to break nature to make that work. Your body isn't broken, nature isn't broken, the ecosystems aren't broken. We're stupid, right? We're not, in my opinion, we're not in a pandemic. We're right now currently in a case-demic, but we were in a growing pandemic from flu season because the population is being kept so sick through disease management, not healthcare, that the common flu could kill people, which in exosome theory is it's a toxic cleansing, because we live in a toxic environment, because we have people in power that have created a poisonous environment, because unfortunately it's the only way they can get a job in politics and keep the job. So I'm gonna let him talk for just I'm not sure if this is the way I did it yesterday. Y'all let me know if this is an echo. This is a new platform I'm trying to figure out here. And I think this is how I did it yesterday, and it kind of came out all right.
All right. We know.
Although the weird part is,
which has been isolated and purified and looked at.
I don't think you can see the video. Let me know if you can see the video.
Another animal or person, they don't get sick.
Okay. So do you see a video playing? Yesterday, I thought the video was playing. I was dancing. I was having a great time with Donald Trump dancing or something, and apparently it wasn't showing. So hold on.
That went through the German court system.
Biden drumming.
That would be given.
Oh, that was so wild. That was wonderful. I went back and watched the video later, and I realized, I was like, they can't see the video.
That was one of my favorites this week. That and Kurt Cobain coming back from 1991 to tell us we're all stupid and contagious.
Okay. Oh, this is wonderful. Lori is joining us, and we're going to listen to the clip from Dr. Counter. I think Lori's joining us. Where she goes? There she goes. Lori Root Riley, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, sis?
I'm good, good.
Lori.
Hey, Holly.
Did you guys watch? Did you watch this yet?
No.
Dr. Cowan? Okay. So this is going around, and for people who want to see it, this is one of the ones that you have to probably share in the messaging. They say a lot of things in here that aren't allowed probably on the platform, which is why I'm trying to play a piece of it I think is allowed. So if you share it out on your Facebook, you're probably going to go to Facebook jail for a period of time. But I think this is a piece that just kind of puts together the basis of the book that the two of them wrote.
And there's a €100,000 prize that went through the German court system that would be given to anybody who could prove the existence of a measles virus. Not even that measles virus causes disease, just that it exists. And the virologist named Stefan Lenke won, and he was ordered that he didn't have to pay the claim. And even the person who said they could prove it had to pay the court costs. So officially now we know that there is no evidence that a measles virus even exists, let alone has been shown to be the cause of this. And the same with sexually transmitted diseases. It turns out we've looked, and you cannot isolate a herpes virus and make somebody else sick with a sexually transmitted disease. You can, in that case, find a herpes virus. So the question then is, what the heck is going on? Why do you take somebody to a chickenpox party and they seem, at least sometimes, to get chickenpox? Why has over 100 people written me and said, I was fine, and then I had sex with somebody, and then I got herpes? How is that possible? So it gets into the heart of the question, which is, first of all, we know it's not a virus. How do we know that? Because all these have been experimentally undertaken to see, and the fact of the matter is it isn't. But there is this particle there, and that's an interesting thing. Now, there we get into a study done by Luc Montagnier, who was one of the Nobel Prize winners for, quote, discovering that HIV caused AIDS, even though he and Gallo admit that they've actually never seen an HIV particle from a sick person. So how they could prove it is beyond me, and I go into that a little bit. But anyways, in an attempt, I think, to redeem himself, he did an experiment where he took DNA and he put it in a beaker of water in one part of the room. And then he put free nucleic acids that you make DNA in another beaker in a different part of the room. And then he shines the light on the first beaker, comes back the next day, and for some weird reason, the second beaker makes the exact same copy of DNA in the second beaker. And this only happens if you put water in it. In other words, there is some sort of resonance phenomena from the first beaker, because DNA, after all, is actually an antenna. That's why it's so susceptible to damage from electromagnetic radiation. And so what seems to be happening is the first child, so there's two reasons. First of all, the usual reason is there's a common poisoning or nutrient deficiency. So people with herpes are essentially bone broth deficient. And I've noticed that my whole career. If they're collagen deficient, the tissue breaks down, and then they have what we call herpes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have an elimination that we call chickenpox, which means you've been poisoned somehow that's unique to that era. Could be glyphosate, could be electromagnetic fields. It's something that even could be unique to that town or that family. Then you eliminate that toxin through the skin in the form of viruses, and then you're better for life. And then through resonance, you tell all the people in your town and in your village and whatever, there is a new toxin in town. You should prepare yourself, if you're exposed to this toxin, to make the same elimination, which is called a virus. And you will also be better for life, because it turns out that life is a cooperative venture, not survival of the fittest and based on random mutations and and natural selection. The viruses, through this resonance phenomena, are the way that organisms, including humans, adapt to new toxins, period. So you get a new toxin in town, you eliminate it through the skin in the form of what we call viruses, you resonate that out to the village. A lot of them go through the same phenomena. It makes you think there was some virus passed from one person to another, but that's not the case. It's what I call the village sings together, so they're all better off at the end of the day.
I have to pause for a minute there. So I'm not sure where you guys stand on that, whether you chime in or not. That was news to me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it was news to me that, and for anyone who's new, who's coming in, he's talking about the differences between virus theory and exosome theory. In exosome theory, it can come from all different types of ways, these particles. Your body creates them based on the environment and virus theory. It's something you catch that masks can protect you from. And what he's explaining is that measles, they've never found the virus. I think they can isolate the exosome, if I'm understanding that right. Lori, I tell you what do you think about what he just said? That they actually haven't isolated measles. And why is that important? Because they haven't isolated cuckoo virus either.
Yeah, I'm not a virologist at all. I'm just a nurse, just a practicing nurse for 32 years. So I have observational. That's it. Like, and I don't care what you call them. Like, the names aren't what matters, right? It's what it means that matters, correct? So virus, particle, exosome, that's kind of a moot point to me. But contagion, when it comes down to contagion, last week my granddaughter was sick. She had a cold, and then when she was finished with her cold, I had a cold, and I hadn't been around anybody else who had, and it was healed naturally with my immune system and taking some extra supplements, good stuff that helped build it. And each of them lasted a week. Susan Jewell had one at the same time as I did, right? So observationally, I see that things spread from one person to another. All the variables about how that happens, isolating things and all that, that's working science. So science, we're not God or we're not the spirit creator, whatever you want to call it. So no one individual knows everything. We know our little pieces, including the scientists, right? So I'm listening, basically. I'm listening, which is kind of hard for me sometimes. Because sometimes I can be kind of know-it-all.
Oh no! First of all, let me
speak.
jump in on that real quick. I gotta test that one first of all. I saw your video yesterday, and I appreciate it. So we are all know-it-alls. We are all like going through this, trying to figure it out in terms of what we are all to a degree based on our experiences, what we know, what we've gone through, all of that. And just to clarify for anybody who thought that Lori and I were having an argument yesterday, we don't have arguments. We're adults. We have discussions. She doesn't let me do anything stupid, and I try not to let her do anything stupid. So I saw your video yesterday, and I just wanted to say, we are all stuck. She was basically saying sometimes we get stuck, yes, but we all get stuck. And we're all, because that's the society we live in. It's so I want to say that real quick. No, but go ahead, Holly, go ahead.
Well, like Lori was saying, it's hard to deny something that you've seen. And, depending on our experiences and where we've been, and I've observed that same dynamic, Lori, and wondered, well, how can I have these other thoughts about this when I'm actually observing something? But then, of course, I consider other possibilities too, like, particles so small that we don't know that we're being exposed to them. And things like, nerve gas, for example, can cause an autoimmune reaction. It can cause the respiratory system to purge, similar to cold symptoms. Things sprayed on clothes can be passed on. So I mean, not that I think that's what happens, but those are possibilities that my mind goes to as well. How can it seem to me on the outside that I just caught somebody's cold, but yet there's these other possibilities? And so, yeah, it leaves me confused at the end of the day. And I also have a little theory. I think we're all born knowing everything, and that they proceed through trauma protocol and damage to our brains to make sure we don't. And that we have all of it in the beginning, and that this veering of our perception has caused all of this.
Yeah,
You look
I
at
agree
animals,
with that
rats.
so much. When you look at a newborn baby, they're just perfect. They're
Hmm.
just perfect. And
And they
all of that
are.
is inside them. The love and then we get scarred up through life and we take the hits, and we, yeah, totally agree with that. I mean, bacteria and viruses, to use those terms, are two different things too. So like I've seen a whole lot of antibiotics work, and I know everybody else here has too, through whatever, personal, family, friends, or through work, such as me. So it's a huge area to discuss. So when we put it down to a sentence or two and argue about that, we're kind of off. We're off base, basically. I think. I know I am. I'll speak for me. I'll speak for me. Yeah.
Well, you're speaking like a scientist. That's the problem. You're actually speaking like an adult. You're actually speaking like, someone that we can find integrity in, because you're saying, listen, I'll tell you this. These are the things I've seen, and these are the things I think I know, and here's what I know. And we just don't know. And that's the one thing you never hear from politicians and leaders anymore, is that they just don't know. They got to know every damn thing, which is more dangerous than anything. And that leads me to, my perspective on what he just said is, I've been struggling with the whole virus theory and exosome theory. I was getting grips of it, but he finally kind of connected the dots, right? So like Christ asked the question, her name is Crystal, but I like to call her Christ, which is pretty funny because now everybody calls her Christ. She said, has contagion theory been proven? Right. And I think the whole point is that whether it has or it's not, whether you observe it or you don't, we know that things are transferred, which he goes through in this talk. Right. So they took a vial of water, and they put DNA in one, and they took another vial and they put base minerals in another and water. And he talks about the experiment, and they went away and came back for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, DNA started forming from the other glass in this glass that just had particles, right? And we know this because this experiment's actually been done between the University of the United States and France, where they did that digitally as well over the internet. So we know that things are transferred in creepy ways we don't understand. We know that there are frequencies, and they talk about the that where DNA is a transmitter, right? Or it's a receiver or transmitter, however they say that it's sending off signals. And so how it applies to today, and from my perspective, is that if we're sending people who are struggling with disease and being poisoned in our environment, that get sick and die with COPD or whatever's going on, out in an environment with a face diaper, and the face diaper doesn't work, we're literally getting people killed, right? It's that ignorance and that arrogance that, hey, I know what's going on. You wear your face diaper and you stand 6 feet apart, you'll be safe. You can get people killed with ignorance. And so this is why I appreciate, Lori, you coming forward and you stating what you know, as well as all medical professionals, right? And nothing should terrify the population more than Del Bigtree and the High Wire being taken off of Facebook. That's the most insane thing that I've ever heard, because he's giving a platform for medical professionals to speak what will save lives, as opposed to locking in ignorance, which will give government power and corporations more money.
Right.
So what I like about exosome theory, which the names are silly, right? It's science, right? It's got to keep moving forward. It's never settled. Is that it makes room for, contagion to be biological, for it to be chemical, for it to be bacteria, for it to be fungus or parasite. It makes room for all of that. It makes room for it to be biophotons, right? Like your skin cells right now are picking up messages from my skin cells and mine from yours, that every cell in your body is emitting 1,000 pulses of light per second. So we're literally, in more ways than we understand, are in constant contact with each other, whether it's biological, whether it's through gaseous and chemical, whether it's visual, and then there's a whole quantum physics, quantum entanglement, wave frequency. And so the thing that I find sexy, that's blowing my mind about exosome theory, is it has more of a stand back-ish, all encompassing. We really don't know, where all of these things come from. But what we do know is when your body is exposed to toxins from whatever means, it creates these exosomes and it passes them on or through various means to teach others in the herd how not to die in case they come in contact with whatever this thing is that made our bodies create them. I think he can explain it better. If that made any sense to anyone.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you real quick. Sorry, Holly. Do you think it was James Corbett that got Dell kicked off? Because I'm pretty sure it was.
Did I say that? Yeah, did I say that yesterday? Like, I believe that, and if anyone who hasn't watched that, they need to watch that. That episode was powerful. But it also, I mean, there were major bombs dropped in that episode. And the other one was the study in Denmark about whether or not face diapers work. So I think a lot of things, keyed him in. That was going to be the final. But I think, the big one was James Corbett, right? Like it's like the whole JFK thing, right? Like you can defy a lot of power as long as you're not too successful in denying them profit and control. But if you deny all power and you attack it in a way that makes you the good guy, where you're really trying to help people, you can't have that many enemies. It's going to come for you. The system, from a system engineer perspective, Lori, like that's how I look at things. The system always wants to defend itself. In the system that we're talking about, it's not one person, right? It's not one family. It is probably 13 families and 7 billion people in an economic system who all need power and money to just survive on the planet. So the system, in a systematic way, if Dell is now interested in like global banking, right? That's what Corbett gets into a lot, right? How big oil took over the world, right? If he with the Big Tree platform, the High Wire, starts talking about why all of this is happening, right? Like he has all his medical professional whistleblowers and scientists come on to explain what's happening and why the science isn't science. It's being censored. They're just not telling you certain portions of it. That's one thing. He's defying big pharma. But when you start defying big pharma, global banking, pesticide companies, IT companies, all of that, who are trying to do this scam globally, that's it. Like, that's it. You're it's like a JFK, right? At that point, it's like kill you, deplatform you, delete you, whatever. You're just from an economic perspective, not conspiracy. So yes, absolutely. I think James Corbett connected enough of the dots. And I think we all who listen to James Corbett, if anyone doesn't know who James Corbett is, I try to put everyone on blast. It is thecorbettreport.com, right? He's got a couple websites. I believe it's someone posted a link for his website. The point is that when you start to connect all the dots, you're creating what I started to talk about earlier to a guy this morning in Holly, was that when you give the masses one main enemy to focus on, they will come together. And this whole world is stitched together on divide and conquer. And that's why I'm happy about today, because they're literally waging war on 7 billion people. And it may only be a dozen or so corporations that are doing that. But that's why I think they'll find it. That was just the final straw. He actually was starting to connect together history. But they said that what they were going to do with this new world order, digital currencies, control, social credit. So anyway, I'm gonna let him do his last piece of this real quick, and then we'll go from there.
No, Dell isn't gone. Dell Big Tree has the Highwire website. He got kicked off YouTube, now Facebook. He's got the website, and he still broadcasts from there. So he hasn't disappeared. He's in Austin, Texas, fighting his ass off like he does every day. Okay, sorry for the A word.
Good.
No.
Thank you.
That's good. And he's on BitChute as well. All right. So let's let him finish real quick, and then we'll go off into it.
That is an exact description of exactly what you're seeing with measles, chickenpox, and the charged experience of sexually transmitted disease, when my guess is resonance is at its max.
So a question on this subject. So our illnesses.
I just want to interject here. So in this case, we are not calling these things viruses. They look exactly like viruses. They attach to the same receptors, but we call them exosomes.
Right.
They are not originating outside of the person. They are originating in the cell. They are these little antennas wrapped in a protein coating, and they can move around in the cells. They can, and they can move around in the bloodstream. They can attach to other cells and say, hey, this thing's coming. You need to prepare. Their nature's fantastic way of adjusting and communicating. And we need to explore the possibility that this is how we adjusted to radio waves. You know, we had this worldwide flu. Everybody was just pumping out exosomes, and they were communicating this to others, and others had the same toxin. And if we hadn't been giving these people too much aspirin, or if they hadn't all been vaccinated and stuff, that a lot more of them would have recovered.
Yes.
But this was nature's like coordinated worldwide reaction to this new technology that was foisted on everybody. And of course, we all love radio. We wouldn't want to go back to a time when there wasn't radio, but there's always, with everything new, there's an adjustment. There's always an adjustment.
So are you saying
That's
that?
a great point. Let me just say something here, because if we stop this from happening, we won't be able to adapt to new environmental influences like toxins. This is the mechanism of adaptation. And B, typically it only becomes a problem if you try to suppress the symptoms. And you could say the definition of conventional medicine is the people.
I'm gonna pause right there because it's so much, but this is what he's explaining, is that if your DNA is an antenna and you're a creature that has some DNA, but you got to have water too. If you got any water in you, you're transmitting and picking up information from everybody around you. And face diapers don't stop frequencies. They don't stop resonance. Does that make I mean, it's making sense to me. It's blowing my mind this morning that, that we could be exposing people who should not be exposed to certain things by telling them they're safe in their face diaper. What do y'all think?
Yeah, definitely the masks do not help anything. I think everyone probably listening to this agrees with that. The virus, the so-called virus of this pandemic, would be gone if they did. The people not wearing them would be stricken down, and those wearing them would all be healthy as hell. And we know that's not true. So that's obvious on its face, I think. And it's amazing how that lie from the powerful, repeated often enough, became the truth for so many.
Well, one thing they do make sure of is that our babies don't get our DNA, and that's something that definitely happens in breastfeeding. And I believe that was they interfered in the birthing process. I mean, what I consider the cabal part of the medical industry, the ones that wanted to infiltrate, that wanted to turn it into something damaging, not continue collaborating with homeopathic medicine and nature. It was intended to interrupt the process, and that process includes babies receiving DNA / their mothers and ancestors' immunities, light codes, who knows what is being passed on with that. And the interruption with the trauma protocol, that they interrupt with the natural bonding of the mother, which can also include the immune system. Without that bonding, the immune system is affected. So they interfere with anything natural that establishes this machine that we're supposed to be equipped with.
Yeah.
I work, my profession is I'm a corporate consultant, and I'm a mental health professional for medical professionals, and I'm placed in hospitals and clinics as a mental health support for medical professionals. And nurses are my favorite people. Nurses saved my life, literally. I live my life vicariously through nurses. They're the hardest working, and they are going to be on the front line soon with this truth telling, as well as the doctors. And you're right, we do need to support them because they are risking their careers, their lives, as we know, their mental health. You know, I set up an employee assistance program, which included addressing medical errors, because one mystery about this pandemic is that there have been very few medical errors reported during it. And in this hospital environment, I know medical errors happen all day long. And then in this international hospital, we had dynamic setup where you had certain expat groups that would protect each other, knowing that they would lose their job if they were seen to have had a medical error. So they would cover for each other. So I established a program in the hospital. It took me months, a hand washing campaign, to where it was normal to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, buddy, I didn't see you wash your hands. Can you do that for me, please? Because we're going to go into theater in a minute." And that was acceptable to do that, and that you didn't get in trouble because somebody reminded you to wash your hands, or you don't get in trouble because you turn around and say, "Shit, I gave the wrong medication, help," because that can save a life. So the corruption and the covering of the things that go on is one of the problems, and allowing these people the freedom and the safety and the security to speak up in the hospital environment is so important.
Yeah. Like all the medical errors I've ever seen were because of overworked people, mostly nurses, working 12-hour shifts. The demands are too many. There's not enough time, and that's all about the money. They don't want
4
to hire.
shifts. I've seen 4 shifts in a row.
Yeah. I actually worked 26 hours straight one time, driving to different hospitals, dialyzing people. I'm insane for having done that, you know. And I saw other coworkers. Sorry, I saw other coworkers. I need to turn off this other speaker. So yeah, it's crazy. So if you have a system like that, that's all about the money, and doctors have always covered up for each other, always. Yeah, it's very difficult to get a differing opinion or get a doctor's statement on, like, trying to file a lawsuit for medical malpractice. They're going to snitch on each other, usually. So yeah, it's systemic. It's that Rockefeller evil money thing, right? At the bottom of it.
Well,
was it Rockefeller's medicine men? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Nurses have more pharma classes than doctors do. Am I right, Lori?
I don't know, because I don't know what the doctors do, but I do know with pharma all the way through, the doctor makes the order. The nurse is supposed to check the order, check in the book. Now it would be online. Make sure that's the right dose. Make sure it's for the right reason. Check the side effects so you catch them early. Do you think that happens when people are so overworked? So you can see just the breakdown. The doctor, the pharmacist, the nurse is supposed to go down so you have checks and balances. And I have questioned doctors, and they've changed medicines. You know, that's how it's supposed to happen. They're like, "Oh, shit, you're right. Let's do it that way." Sometimes. Usually they're right, but that's obviously how it happens. I have to run. Somebody's at the front door. I'll be back. Love you.
Okay, go for it. So it's systematic. And so what I appreciate is, well, one, Lori's even taking time, as well as you, Holly, in explaining this, but it's systematic. And so when you say that, you know, why would evil doctors gang up and cover up for each other? Why do police? Why do engineers? Why do teachers? Why do nurses on occasion, right? Like, it's not a thing of whether doctors are evil or nurses or police or anything. We have a system. We have systematic failure, right? We have a system that forces groups to behave like gangs, And so they adopt this gang mentality of protecting each other to make sure that they can pay their mortgage, they can pay for their car, right? In a stress-based system, right, where they're making you work as hard as possible to where you make the mistakes, which probably feeds into the gang violence. I'm not saying that that was by design, but it's interesting how it all fits together. And then the question of, so why are nurses overworked? Why are doctors overworked? Why are the medical professionals overworked? Well, why is the government poisoning everybody, making them sick? Right? Why are they subsidizing the things that are causing these exosome storms and you know this disease management system? It's easy to fix the problem. The problem is it's not profitable, and that's what I love about the exosome theory. Is he's explaining that it's the environment that's easy to fix. That's rolling back to eating organic food. That's rolling back to having a less stress-free life. Why in the world does a nurse need to work 60 hours a week? Why? I personally don't want anybody touching me. Surgeon, nurse, doctor, anybody who's overworked and stressed. I need y'all to be on vacations. Damn it. I need you in Egypt half the year. I need you to be in the Bermuda and Bahamas so that you come work on me, you're 120%. And that's what I want for grandma. And that's what I want for everybody. And the beautiful thing about today is we have the technology to build that world. We just don't have the people who are educated enough to require this leadership government thing instead of just sitting back and waiting for their solutions. So
in general, we're traumatized. It's a trauma protocol. It starts from conception. It has to do, our professionals are traumatized, severely traumatized. I've worked with police officers trying to address trauma transparently so that they don't, my relationship, we both have PTSD, and sometimes I think, what are we doing? We're just triggering each other. And people get sick of me talking about PTSD, but by God, we've got it really bad. All of us do. And then we bounce off of each other's trauma, and the whole medical environment is trauma upon trauma, and trying not to lose it so you don't show your trauma. And I used to get called into the theater, have to scrub up and go in the theater to mediate a fight between a head surgical nurse and somebody else so that they could get through the surgery. These are our professionals. They need help. They need, I used to do groups with them, and the things that would come out, they'd cry and go on, and just self-care, and my goodness, talk to each other, and setting that environment so that they could come and say, I'm losing it, I gotta go home, and not be disciplined for that.
I'm just tripping here because, this was a comment from Joseph earlier. So speaking of PTSD, right, like I was thinking about our scenario right now. What are people suffering from? Why are people acting like NOTSEEs? Why? Because they're scared, right? They've been gone through trauma for the past 8 months, right? They've been locked down in their houses. They've lost their jobs. They lost their businesses. They don't know what's going on. They hear about the digital dollar, contact tracing. The people are all diseased, even from the kids. They're scared to look at someone's face because of this psychological operation. It's trauma. It's all trauma. So why would your neighbors turn you in? Why would your family turn you in? Well, because we're all to a degree, not me, but we're all to a degree suffering from a form of PTSD. And this is the reality is they're breaking populations to get them to turn against each other so that they'll go to the system, and the system, if not creators, but those who uphold the system for a solution. Like all of this fits, it's all the same thing, from doctors to nurses to teachers to police officers. Everybody in the environment suffers from PTSD. And back to your point, Holly, about the frontal lobe, is that my understanding, because I don't have much of a life and I just sit back and I listen to smart people and lectures all day, is that the frontal lobe doesn't develop how it should when you're stressed as a child. In the education system, going to school, hating teachers and hating school, you should never put a child in an environment it hates. I was thinking about that this morning. The education system under an oligarchy isn't an education system, right? So if you have a financial conflict based, and I figure out how to put this in a post under 257 characters is hard, but if you have a group conflict based system and you're conflicting over finances and money, debt and poverty, then it means that your education system isn't actually a school. It's a gladiator camp. You're literally, because if poverty is the greatest weapon that's ever been created, is the worst form of violence you can create, and making money takes money out of other kids' mouths or other families' mouths, then it means that schools aren't schools. They're actually gladiator camps where you teach children to wage intelligence or wage grades against each other instead of slashing them where they could heal from a slash from a sword. They'll never heal from a slash from you taking a promotion, from them not getting it. And they got 4 kids at home that they got to feed as well. And it's like at a systematic level, we have to change all of this. And thank God we are in a time where the system collapsed. We lack the will and perhaps the enlightenment to know that we can change the system and free people from working 60-hour weeks. I'm not saying that people can work immediately, give up their work and walk away. Some of us have to still work. Like I'm a software engineer, right? We have to use the automation to develop and keep the world moving forward, right? 3D printing your laptops, your TVs, your houses, your cars, all of that. And some people in certain industries, I think, that are useless, banking, finance, accounting, all the bullshizzle about the financial system, but it's like 30% of the jobs, all of that is useless. Like you don't need that anymore. Money is outdated. It is a legacy thing that needs to go away. But some people can go from, instead of working 60 hours a week, maybe you're only working 30 hours a week for the next 10 years as we start developing towards not a utopia, but a society where people aren't overworked into PTSD. Other people may only work 10 hours a week. But the beauty of it to me, even if I have to work for the rest of my life, 40 hours a week, I really don't care. Like I'm helping to develop a world on automation and robotics that's seeing to the basic needs of the next generation. And that is our only job, is to make sure that they are doing better than what we are, not just from a medical, but an entire civilization model perspective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, what Holly was saying about the training and all that, let me just tell you real quick about my worst day of nursing school. We were doing the OR. It was a 6-week summer class where we went to the OR 2 days a week, and we were in class the other 3 or vice versa. And so my very first day in the OR, we had learned all the instruments. They're all laid out, and they have all these, each one has its own name and it's for a different purpose. So I scrubbed in, went in. I was supposed to assist the surgical tech who was handing the instrument. So she decided she didn't feel good, and she sat in the corner and she asked for the circulating nurse to come talk to her. Left me standing there. This woman on the table was having a hysterectomy, a vaginal hysterectomy. She was a Jehovah's Witness. She was a very overweight woman, and there was a bleed they could not stop. So the surgeons were freaking out. I was handing them the wrong stuff. I was doing my best. I was standing there in tears, doing my best as a nursing student doing this. And later on, some people that worked there, we went to the same hospital through the course. They were like, yeah, she's jealous of you because you're in nursing school. She did that shit on purpose. But I thought this lady might lose her life, So I went home and I was getting emotional. This happened like 30 years ago, but I was supporting my kids solely, and trying to get through this school so I could do that fully. And I really was considering quitting because I was thinking, if this is what nursing is, I can't do this. But thank God, that was actually my worst day in nursing ever. And there were some other bad ones. But, that this is what we do to the babies. I was a 26-year-old baby trying to learn, and, this is what happened. So anyway, I'm done. I'm going to actually scoot off because I'm going to do some actual work. Because now that I've been a nurse all these years, I have a job where I have some autonomy. But it took this long. I can work 30 hours and make my salary, you know. I can go when I need to go do something. I can stroll in late wearing my t-shirt on certain days and go on Gerard's show on the so-called clock, you know. So it can happen, but yeah, I'm 60 now. So we shouldn't put people through all this unnecessary stress their whole life and then wonder
My
what's wrong with our society, right?
my
We
nurses used to tell me that nurses eat their own.
yes, that saying was always there. And hey, I've always tried to be a nurturer to those coming after me. But it's that stress. It's that stress that does it to people. I love you guys. I'm going to jump
All
off.
right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Lori.
me
Love
on.
you, Lori.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you so much, both of you. Bye bye.
Yeah,
It was
we'll see you
good.
soon. All right, let's jump back into it and let him. I just want him to wrap this up. It's like another 5 more minutes where he kind of helped explain exosome theory. But you know, it to me, I mean, the difference is that like I said, the big difference is exosome theory actually helps to identify what the solutions are. Virus theory just it identifies what the profit should be. So let's give him 5 more minutes and then we'll talk over. Maybe do some Tao Te Ching, hopefully, but hopefully people can see how this is still on the same topic of living in balance with nature, as opposed to just trying to make profit, perhaps lying about or centering what nature actually is designed to do. If your body isn't broken, we just live out of sync with nature.
People who try to suppress healing reactions. So you get a fever, you excrete these toxins called exosomes to help yourself. We know that. We know they can communicate. Your doctor, unfortunately, doesn't understand that, so he tries to suppress that, and then you have bad outcomes. That's the problem.
So are you saying that exosomes are in fact viruses? They are one and the same thing? Is that what you're saying?
They are exactly the same thing.
And they're just being misunderstood or
Mischaracterized. Yes.
mischaracterized by the medical establishment.
Yes.
The word virus means poison in Latin. And people like Pasteur were using this word virus all the time. And they were speculating that there were things smaller than bacteria that were causing disease. And so when they actually found these tiny little things, they called them viruses because they assumed that they were poisons. It's just like when they first discovered immune cells. They assumed that these were evil and that they went around the body carrying sickness to other parts of the body. The materialistic viewpoint it's just like a knee-jerk reaction. They assume that these things are bad. And it's taken us 200 years to get over the notion that bacteria are bad. Now we need to do the same thing with viruses.
Yeah, it's a misconception. The idea of a pathogenic virus is a misconception. And it's the same misconception as maggots killed the dog, firemen make fires, and a lot of other things. Just because something is at the site of an event doesn't mean it caused the event. There's a way to figure out whether it caused the event, which is to isolate it and then expose somebody who didn't, all you have to do is take a bunch of firemen and put them in a house that doesn't have a fire, wait 24 hours, and I will publicly say we were wrong about the book if every time you put a new fireman at a new house, next day you see a fire.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm gonna stop there with Dr. Cowan. One, I want people to go watch the whole video. Two, I think he goes a bit too far for these platforms. Right? He starts to tell you about frequencies and the effect that they have. So But so, and it's an amazing thing to hear and understanding, and it goes along with what Christy Moreno is saying right here, which is you're a part of an ecosystem, right? You've got it all inside of you, right? We know when you put people on chemotherapy drugs and you start to turn off their immune production, when you start to reduce their immune cells, you start to get things like shingles, right? You start to get things, even if you're in a sterile environment, because all those things are in you. You are a part of an ecosystem. I love what he said about we are a part of a village, right? A collaborative. You aren't a you. You're not by yourself. You are with other people and you share the environment with them and the ecosystem. And we're all evolving together, which is why I think social distancing is there. I think that's why they are trying to get people isolated. Right? If you can isolate people and convince them that they can be a sterile on Earth and not be exposed to other people, that they'll actually survive, that they won't die because the ecosystem will kill them later. That's where they make their profit. They make their profit by getting you to raise sterile children, rubbing Purell all over their face and their body, as opposed to playing outside, having a dog, right? Getting exposed to all the things and playing with children in the schoolyard. The last year, going along with Dr. Newt Witkowski from Sweden. He's another one. If you haven't listened to him, people, you should listen to him. They have made us more sick and vulnerable to ecosystems by playing virus theory with you guys. We got to cut it out. Like at a certain point in time, we have to step back, be an adult and say, you know what? We don't know. We don't know. But what we do know is for 1 billion years, the ecosystem has worked this way. And if you don't eat organic, healthy food, if you don't live a relatively stress-free life, that the ecosystem, that you'll die from the natural processes in the ecosystem. And so I'd appreciate it, everybody, because we're all family. We're all going through it together. We're all learning, especially you, Howard. If the word virus comes out of my mouth, check me. Check me. I need to change the way I talk to exosomes, right? We need to talk about things from that perspective. It's not that viruses don't exist. They're called different things. But exosome theory, it speaks to the solution of stop poisoning the people, stop isolating people, and getting them to go back to be a part of the ecosystem.
Well, we're super trainable. It's absolutely blown my mind how trainable we are. You know, there's that video of all the dogs and they're waiting to eat and they don't eat their food until the owner tells them, okay, you can all eat your food now. And you know, it didn't take long for them to do that. Somebody mentioned herpes in the spinal fluid, and yeah, there's so many things about the way they've presented viruses to us. I always like to mention that I've never seen one depicted as anything but a cartoon. And when you Google virus cartoons, there's millions of them. And, you know, they all kind of look like something else that we've seen or something else that's programmed in your brain. You know, spelling spells are serious. They have placed a spell on us. I'm an English teacher. I'm a second English as a second language teacher, and there's nothing more ridiculous than the English language. And I honestly believe it was very much intended to put us under a spell, and it was a very simple spell of spelling. And I try to intentionally misspell words. And as an English professor, I get very criticized for that. My sister's the head librarian in Beijing, and she just cringes when I write and don't use punctuation and don't spell things properly, because I'm trying to break that spell. And it's hard because we have you have a whole movie that plays with the word protest. You have a movie that plays with the word virus. A whole Hollywood movie of your lifetime of programming plays when you hear, yeah, I don't know, anything having to do with what we're accustomed to being normal.
Well, so the fun part is what is normal. And I think that's how they broke us, right? It's one of the ways that they broke us is they've changed the normal. They've given the human race a new normal at birth where this is normal. It's normal to be inside. It's normal to play video games and not go outside, be exposed to bacteria, viruses, and fungus. It's normal to wash your hands at all times. It's normal to not breathe oxygen. Another one, which Christy Moreno's hitting it this morning, sister. Thank you. She was talking about stress. So, and this feeds all along with the conversation, right? If you have a stress-based society, you're killing people, right? As a model, you're killing people. I love what my guru, or one of my gurus, says. I haven't listened to him in a long time. He basically said that, he's from India. He came to America and he said, wait a minute, you guys have stress management. What the hell is that? Why would you want to manage stress? You don't want to manage stress. If you have a society that has stress and you just manage it, you're crazy. You don't want to manage rape. You don't want to manage murder. You don't want to manage the crazy things that you need to get rid of. You need to get rid of it. And that was one of his points, is that in America, they manage the stress. They're not trying to get rid of it. And stress is one of the number one killers, because when you're stressed, your immune cell production starts to shut down. Right? So that's huge. And actually, she nailed another one. She was talking about oxygen, right? So what are the criticalities of oxygen? I have to put Dr. Rashid Buttar on blast this morning as well. Anybody who doesn't follow Dr. Rashid Buttar, you need to. I believe the name of his website is Advanced Medicine. He actually has a talk that's coming up. I want to say it's either this week or that's next week. I think it's next week. Talking about oxygen, right? And so he's one of the doctors who's in this revolt, right? Which is beautiful. Medical professionals are revolting against the medical system, and we need to back them up in any way we can. We need to go to Facebook jail and Facebook prison. I mean, I think that I probably pushed the envelope with this video. This might be the last one for a while. They might throw me in Facebook jail, but I don't really have a choice. Like, it's an obligation that we actually get the truth out to the people and back up the medical industry who want to fix their industry. So Rashid Buttar is one of them. And what he talks about, his upcoming webinar is free. I think there are 3,000 seats possible, but he's talking about oxygen and your body, right? So I think I quoted him this morning. He said something to the effect of all chronic illness come from the blood system, right? Come from the bloodstream. And if you don't have enough oxygen in a certain form, that's, I guess, cell soluble or something like that, and the minerals and nutrients in your bloodstream, you will have a chronic illness. Most chronic illnesses come from the fact that you're not eating enough of the foods. The foods don't have the minerals and nutrients that they used to, and you are not getting enough oxygen. So oxygen is huge. I remember when my father was going through, he was dying of lung disease. And, I don't trust any doctors. I don't trust anybody. So we were off doing our own research, kind of reading into and the understanding of how critical oxygen is to certain cells in the body, white blood cells, right? If you don't have enough oxygen, you're going to have more disease. So it's huge. So anyway, I wanted to put Dr. Rashid Buttar on blast. Definitely look him up. Do you have a comment on there, Holly, or should we go over to the Tao Te Ching? Because I do want to do at least a few minutes of the Tao Te Ching to see if that still wraps into today.
Yes, oxygen is so huge, and I had the most profound detox experience and reset taking an oxygen drop supplement, which was created by a bunch of cardiac surgeons, and it basically causes an extra oxygen molecule to be in the system, and so that oxygen molecule forces itself into each cell, which in turn forces a toxic molecule out of the cell at the same time. And it was quite a simple concept, but it was really the most profound healing that I've ever done with oxygen, and also ozone therapy, which is basically a triple molecule of oxygen that is used for cancer. There's a cannula for the nose. You can use cannulas for any orifice, basically, to detox and oxygenate the organs, and it's very very powerful.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the big businesses that are blowing up around here is they've got these oxygen chambers, right? So you get in this chamber, I guess they're clinics, and it's a high pressure chamber, and it forces oxygen into your body, into your cells, and they know that for a long time that's helped with cancer. It's helped your immune cells to do what they need to do. It is critical, beyond critical that we have these truthful conversations about how the human body works. What scares me, Holly, is the ignorant people I have in leadership in the state that I live have told people that they should wear masks in their houses now. And so while I think all of us hail from ancestors who were very distrustful, the kings and the lords, that they lie a lot. There's some people who just go along with everything, right? There's some people who don't have that fully developed frontal lobe because they're not as privileged as me or other people, and they were raised in different families, and they do everything government tells them, right? I'm sure they're using the bathroom in their masks. They're taking showers with their masks. And this is what I'm saying, that this is why I don't do teams, because usually all teams under an oligarchy come with a level of ignorance that I can't agree with. We need to let people know the truth. Otherwise, people die. And the only way we do that is through true science. And you will never have true science in a system that censors some of the scientists or some of the doctors. So I want to do this because we're going to run out of, I'm closely running out of time here. I do have slavery today as well.
I wanted to always... Jeannie Jane was saying, talking about the lungs and emptying the lungs during breathing. And what else? She said something before this too about ozone. But I just wanted to comment that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not to breathe real shallow. The stress alone keeps us from breathing, period. The first thing you do when you're stressed out is you stop breathing, and you start breathing to about right here. In order to breathe, you need to feel like you should raise up out of your chair a little bit. When you really inhale properly, your belly should expand, and your ribs should blow out and back in, but we sit and shallowly breathe in our throats and chest, and that alone decreases the oxygen by about 40%.
Yeah. I mean, breathing is huge. I mean, I've been doing a lot of meditation recently, trying to figure out how to meditate for myself. And oxygen is critical to thought. It's critical to everything. Like, all the systems in your body need a lot of oxygen to survive. And I find that when I'm correctly breathing, or deep breaths, lots of oxygen, then I'm able to focus in different ways I couldn't. I find that, like, there's a stress response when I run in and out of the store. Sometimes I try to go in the store now with my face diaper around my neck, and a lot of times it's funny to me that people don't say anything. And I hope they say something, but if they tell me to pull it up, I pull it up. But just wearing the thing, I want to get out of the store. I hate it. I can't tolerate it. I don't want to deal with it. My mind is not thinking how it should. But let's do this. I want to do a little bit of the Tao Te Ching, because we have to really touch on it. I like this idea of, let's play a little bit, let's go forward a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up.
Strength. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. One who gives himself to his position surely lives long. One who gives himself to the Tao surely lives forever.
Oh, that was from yesterday, right? So that applies to today and everything we talked about, because we're in a condition of oligarchy. We're in a condition of being over-governed, right? We're trying to govern nature. We're trying to govern each other, govern the immune system, govern children. And we've gone way too far, and we've got to swing it back. And so the best government is the least government. So that's with yesterday. And the funny thing is, I have no idea what they're going to say next in this audio clip. But it almost always applies. If it's true, it's true. And it will apply to things that we're going through today.
The Great Way is universal. It can apply to the left or the right. All beings depend on it for life. Even so, it does not take possession of them. It accomplishes its purpose, but makes no claim for itself. It covers all creatures like the sky, but does not dominate them. All things return to it as to their home, but it does not lord it over them. Thus it may be called great. The sage imitates this conduct. By not claiming greatness, the sage achieves greatness. All men will come to him who keeps to the one. They flock to him and receive no harm, for in him they find peace, security, and...
All right, I'm done. I don't have to touch no more of that. That's it. That's it. Just nailed it. That is why we're here. We're literally trying to take the whole universe and shove it in our bank accounts. And that's what an economic, conflict-based society has done. And so all of our consumerism, all of our overabundance, it actually is what brought us here today. That's why you have 12 corporations trying to take over the whole damn world. Holly, tell me something, girl.
Well, I haven't been to Walmart since July, and it's hard, but I can find just about everything I found at Walmart at the King's Treasure thrift store or the Dollar Tree. Even though I'm still supporting China, I'm trying to wean off of that stuff. And that's just been really hard for me not going in there. But I'm proud to announce I have not entered the mothership for any reason. And even in July, I marched in there without a mask on. I was like, y'all doing this? And they're like, yeah, but we can't make you. I was like, right on. So I did go in without a mask.
Yeah, and that is an answer that's coming, a lot. Because we all need to be honest where we are with what we want to do and what we don't want to do, where we have strengths and where we don't. And I'm not, I've told people before, I'm not a big confrontational person. I don't like to really I like to have good conversations. And right now people do have PTSD and they think you're trying to kill grandmama if you don't have on a face diaper. So I push the limits where I can, but it's good because it's forcing me to shop in places that believe in human freedom. It's forcing me to shop in places that actually understand science and are in sync with the ecosystem, that aren't waging war on nature. So no, I'm not ready to go in and fight people over wearing a face diaper. I just don't go there. And so that's a great thing, is pulling away from consumerism more and more on a daily basis. And that's how we all fight. We don't tell each other how to fight. You just, in the way you can and how you do, you fight it. But we have to start pulling out of a system that only survives on us, abusing each other with our ideas of what we think is true, and mass consumerism that's burning up the planet.
Yes.
That's awesome, Tori. Look at this.
To reverse that trauma protocol, make sure that your baby is not traumatized, and then he won't be in that trauma mindset. I keep going back to my own offspring, which trust me, they're my pain in my ass. They're awful kids, but they deal with things differently because I was such a hippie mom, and I noticed the difference. I spin out. I have brain damage. I overreact. I misperceive and misconstrue things, and we've been through hell in the past 4 years. We all have serious trauma, and they have every reason to be on the street, dropped out of school. And while I was spinning out over here, I pretty much lost everything in the last 4 years just being a nut. And they proceeded to make up 3 years of school and a year of college. The oldest one's getting ready to graduate. They just proceeded through it. And I can't help but think it was because they don't have that same trauma protocol programming quite to the extent that they could have. And I'm noticing a difference. That's my only point I'm making, that by not exposing them to that same protocol and protecting them from that, letting their frontal lobes develop, they can pretty much handle everything. Nothing gets them freaked out and spun out like me. They just process things normally. And it's like, wow.
Which
like I said,
is
they're taking the edge off because they just
Right. Which is why you are the perfect mother for them, which is why they chose to come to you, which is why you were supposed to be with them, because they are teaching you things about the system and you are teaching them. What you told me is, are they pains in the A? Yeah, they should be. Oh, they should be. They gotta be. If your kids are not pains in the A, because some people they're listening to you and I don't know, you know, they're processing. My kids are a pain in the A too. It's a different type of pain, a different way. But you know, I want them to be a pain. Why? Because they're helping to teach me. They're helping to evolve me. You know, our goal as parents is to make upgrades. And so what you've done effectively, Holly, is you made an upgrade of yourself, right? In that unique way that they needed. In my unique way, I needed kids that would question me. I thought I was God, Holly. Holly fan, I thought I was God. I knew everything. Well, I tell you what, I was raising those little kids, and then they started questioning me. They got
They'll
older.
take you down a notch, won't they?
Oh, they will. Did they? My kids, I say it all the time. My greatest teachers on this planet is three little snotty-nosed, funky, smart A kids, because they finally got old enough and they said, "No, we're gonna start to question this bastard. No, he thinks he's the king. He thinks that he thinks he's King Kong. He thinks he knows everything." And they started questioning me. And they started breaking me down and teaching me. And they probably don't even know this. They don't watch my videos half the time, which is good. I don't need them to know that. But, you know, the point is, though, that, you know, we're all in this voyage together for a reason. And we're no smarter than kids. We just got here first. We have to definitely make them upgrades of us in every way possible. And that's really how we push the system forward. If we don't get a chance to collapse the nonsense of the system we have in our generation, then they'll do it in their generation. If not, they'll teach the kids to do it in the next generation, but teaching them critical thought and moving forward. So I'm gonna say one more thing and I'm gonna let you have the last word, then I'm gonna get out of here because I've got slavery and I have to urinate. Very healthy. Drink a gallon of water a day, but it'll make you pee like a racehorse. It's a good thing. Yeah, you got to get the toxins out. And there's something in exosome theory in that. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna figure it out and find it. But peeing a lot is very good, very healthy. We're adults. We need to talk like that. I'm gonna respond to a post I saw earlier this morning from it was Jessica's post. She posted something to the effect about you know, removing ourselves, correcting our status, right? A lot of people are studying the law and becoming private citizens again and no longer being commodities. And I was just kind of processing it through, you know, listening to the lecture that she sent over. And it was going through an RT video about why Americans don't want to wake up, why people around the world are too scared and cowardly to want to actually step up and fix things, and that gets back to PTSD and a bunch of other stuff. But I try to make things simple if I can. I have a lot of time that I spend doing, you know, research and lectures and listening to audiobooks. I don't do none of that reading. I got no time for that. We have three ways out of this system. We have three ways to fix it based on my understanding. And I'm curious as to what people here think. I'll come back and read the comments later. One is we correct our status. Right? We become private citizens again. We escape the United States Incorporated. And if you're in Britain, the Britain Incorporated, the Bank of England, London, which is a corporation, probably Canada, et cetera. These aren't governments. These are governing corporations. They are legislative oligarchies. In the United States, it was 1871, the Washington, D.C. Act of 1871, where you lost your government and it was replaced with a corporation that's owned by international billionaires. One is you can correct your status and become a private citizen. And that's a good thing. And a lot of people are doing that. And we do need a lot of people to do that if that's where they're resonating, to go that direction. I'm studying it. I'm looking into it. I have not done it. Two is we let this system collapse, right? The one that we have right now, where we fight, or we slowly reduce it over time, right? We start reducing the power, which got me in trouble yesterday because I was talking about the memorandum 15, Donald Trump. You know, you mention the name and people are like, cuckoo, they go crazy. Well, we wasn't just a cuckoo virus. We had a cuckoo election, made everybody cuckoo. It's a good idea to take the fangs out of the CEA, right? So, you know, to me, the second version is we slowly reduce the power of the system over time, you know, removing the war waging capability of the CIA is one way to do that. You know, the banking system, big pharma collapsing it, fixing it, things like that, stepping away, reducing the power of this corporation that seems to be affiliated with these global corporations. And 3 is, I prefer 3, but 3 is just we walk away. We give up. We say, no, that's it. We're done with the system. And the beautiful thing about 3, which I love, which I kind of circled right back around to where I say in my videos on a regular basis, is the system only survives because we believe in it.
Yep.
And we act like we believe in it, and we consent to it. If we somehow could reach enough people, oh, thank you for that. Elaine posted Jessica's link. If enough people actually care enough to walk away, this all ends tomorrow.
Well, like
your last words.
The NOTSEES managed to get us all to slap a dirty diaper on our face for the past 8 months pretty consistently, and most of us don't want to do it. Most of us question it. And so it's woken me up. I thought, well, wow, if they can get us to do that, imagine what we can get the public to do with a little bit of coaching. One of my favorite things to do is teach kindergarten, because you start with a group of well, you know what I end up with. You send me your 5-year-olds. You know what I start out with, and at the end of the year, we're standing in lines. We're taking turns. We know our ABCs. We can write our name at the top of our paper. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we can do at the end of those 9 months. And so I just have developed a whole new faith in humanity at this point. We're a clean slate. We're a little bit frontal lobe damaged, but I have complete faith in us.
Amen. Amen. I think we make it. I think we survive. So, Holly, I appreciate you joining. Appreciate you taking time with us. Appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge. You guys can follow Holly on Facebook. And my name is Gerard Kenyatta Hay. You guys have it. I'm sorry?
Follow me at your own risk.
Yeah, just be careful what you post, because if it's too true and it helps people too much, you're going to get your channel deleted. So y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining, folks. We'll see you guys.